Oh, hello. Microphone's on, green dot's on. We're winning, aren't we? Just have my phone here to check if anyone says, no, we're not winning. We are winning. All my computers changed because as part of our Cyber Essentials Cyber Assurance annual review, I make sure that, all keys are rotated, all settings are checked and double checked. Of course, now everything's back to square one. And I'm finding myself, I've enabled a new thing which says make sure that if any external device is plugged into a machine, there's a protocol to follow to make sure that it's a safe device. So now when I plug in a microphone, I have to go through a whole fandango. Is this an okay device? It's so great. You've got to do Cyber Essentials and Cyber Assurance. Nothing on it is onerous or difficult. It's just there's 150 different things to go through and think, when did I last change my password for YouTube? This sort of thing. So it's really worth doing. Keeps you on the straight and narrow. So I'm having better night's sleep as a result of, making sure that we're bang up to standard on everything from YouTube passwords to how microphones connect. Great. Right, so I'm on time today. This is great news. We are going to continue our exciting adventure into Equine Press. Before I start, horses, as I am sure you were shouting at the computer, do not bray. Oh, I've been so mortified all week. Last week, if you don't remember, or if you haven't seen it yet, I put in a subtitle on a new horse-related book and it used the funny pun braying, but that's donkeys. It's just donkeys. So don't trust me on software, trust me on bibliographic metadata management. Do not trust me on horse-related noises, because clearly I don't know what I'm talking about. But we're going to dive in again to setting up this account, making sure that we're doing it all properly. And this week, what I thought I'd do was be on the actual system. Feline Press has got an account on the actual system, and often in our weekly chats that we have, I'm using my local machine. But I don't know. I just thought let's switch it up a bit. So we're going to be doing more setup of Equine Press. Equine Press is an imprint that the imaginary Feline Press imaginarily bought last week, and we're using this so that we have an excuse to go into some of the set and forget pages on consonants that you tend to go to, at the beginning, or when an exciting event like this happens, when you've bought an imprint or you're doing something a little bit unusual. But it just means that sometimes we don't get to explore that area so much, do we? So I'm going to go to the settings area on the Feline Press consonants account, and we'll look at what we did last week and see what we can build on. So we decided that this is an imprint that we bought, so we're keeping the imprint underneath the publisher of Feline Press. Don't, as I said last week, don't try and think, what does consonants want? Let's do it the consonants way. Make consonants reflect your reality. It is the correct way round. Consonants is there to serve. And if you can't see how consonants properly reflects your reality, get in touch and we'll either advise or do some work to make consonants reflect your reality. Part of the challenge and benefit of having one version of the truth in your team is that everyone has to trust it. And if you find yourself in that sort of zone where you're thinking, well, I know what the reality is, which is that we bought such and such an imprint, but we've put it under publisher because that's what the system told us to do. But really, we know it's an imprint, so we'll just have to constantly, hold that mental weight in our minds. No, just whatever you have decided your commercial reality is, set it up that way in the system. So if the commercial reality here was that we had actually bought a publisher, then we would set up a new publisher, and that's absolutely fine. There's a lot of there's a lot of parts of consonants where there's not one authoritative way to do something. Take to-dos, for instance. You can look at them at the work level. You can look at them on a kind of critical path. You can look at them through search. You can have to-dos that have a due date and a role and a person responsible, or you can have to-dos that are only a word, saying like send to print, no date, no responsibility, no nothing. Either of those two approaches is fine. It just has to reflect your reality. So that's an important thing to hold in mind. I also think that sometimes when we're thinking about systems, there is a tendency to think that the system must be right. And I, the lowly publishing assistant, must be wrong. I must be doing it wrong. Not the case. It is not the case. You are correct. Follow your hunches. Get your systems to bend to your will, because you are you are more right than you think you are. I'm sort of sub tweeting, or whatever that is in real life, a situation from earlier in the week where somebody who was used to a different system said, well, I just thought it was me. It's not you. So make these systems work for you. So we've set up, we've failed to set up a publisher because that doesn't reflect reality. We've set up an imprint. Let's hop in and see what the imprints look like now. So we've got Equine Press. We've given it a code for ease of reference. You don't have to give it a code, but it's helpful if you want to have just a short bit of data that reflects this entity, the imprint, on your spreadsheets and so forth. Equine Press, the imprint, belongs to Feline Press, the publisher. Great. We're publishing in the GB. We're publishing in Aberdeen. We don't have a marketing materials template set up yet. We don't have works set up. If you've just hopped over from the previous week, we did set up a work, but I'm on the real live system now, so we're going to start a little bit from scratch. But we'll see works appearing there. I've also got this very fetching default cover, copyright free from Unsplash. Thank you very much, Unsplash. Of a lovely grey Highland pony. So that's our default cover that we can have on our imprint. Great. So what else can we set up in this kind of set and forget scenario? Cast your mind back. Have you been to this page recently? I wouldn't be at all surprised if you hadn't. It's the sort of set. It says on the page, doesn't it? It's the settings page. You tend to come here to do administrative tasks as a one-off. Probably not here every day. Let's have a look at in-house subjects, the next on the list, because it's not going to be all cats now, is it? No, we're going to have horses. None of this is going to be very exciting, I have to say, because, these are the code lists that we're going to be applying later on, but we'll call it HOS, and the in-house subject is called horses. A word on in-house subjects. When at all possible, use the industry standard classification schemes, because those are your lingua franca that's going to enable you to communicate with everyone else in the world to say, when I say this book is about horses, it's about horses. Do we understand each other? If I simply write in the word horses here, nobody else has this HOS code on their systems. This is an in-house subject. Frankly, it's absolutely vital, because industry standard codes just don't get the right personality across in your advanced information sheets and your catalogues. If you think about the running headers in your catalogues, it says things that are unique to you as an organisation. So you need, again, reflect reality. However you categorise books, this is the page for it. Make sure that you also categorise them in a way that is going to, map to whatever Amazon's latest subject classification scheme is. Stick to THEMA and the BSAC codes, and some local codes like NER codes, and you won't go wrong. So that's our in-house subjects contained. Lovely. We don't have any works. tagged up as either of these things yet, but if we did, then we would be able to click straight through to Data Studio and start interrogating them a bit more. But let's hit the back button a couple of times and see what else we can set up here. So the next things we've got are in-house editions and in-house formats. Let's start with in-house editions because that comes first on the list. We've already got some in-house editions set up, and again we're in kind of mapping the strictures of industry standards to the real world, how your rich, wonderful, quirky, unique, weird publishing company works, and there's nothing wrong with it. You have to make sure that your reality is contained within here. So for Feline Press so far, we've been publishing ebooks, hardbacks and paperbacks. I have to now think quickly of an alternative type of in-house edition. For horse books, what might we say here for horse books? What did we have previously? We had paperback, hardback, ebook. Okay, let's have special hardbacks. Oh yeah, all of our horse books could be covered in velvet with a gold foil block, couldn't they? Oh, finally, we're going to be rich. It's going to be great. Special hardback, special horse hardbacks. We can make all of these products co-editions if we want. That's a bit of a stretch goal for another day. And then we've got this pick list of formats. So the next big thing down on the list is in-house formats. We can absolutely add to this. When your Consonance account ships, you get all of these as kind of your starter for 10 default. So, you know, there's some classics in here, B format, paperbacks, some of the slightly older ways of describing the dimensions of hardbacks and paperbacks. Yeah, so a few things. It's not to say that this is the definitive list. So let us say for the moment that these are all going to be royal hardbacks. Lovely. And so I have now said the edition that is special hardbacks, they're all royals. But look to see what we can do. We can layer it all up. So we can say, well, in the paperback edition, we could have any number of different formats. So we're creating a kind of family tree here. So we've added this new edition. Great. And also, as an aside, do you see how important it is to get words right? Because we're using the word edition here. I mean, whether it's right or wrong, I'm really not sure. But what I do know is that naming things in publishing is incredibly difficult. Like if you say book, like what is a book? Is it the individual copy of a particular work's product? Is it the format? Is it the work itself? It's, you know, there's real vagueness. So I think what you have to do, and what we've done, is follow the Onyx standard. You just have to pick a word and make sure that you adhere to it. Books are hard. Titles are worse. If you think, and everyone does it, but if you call your list of works your titles, I mean, I've even put it in the header of our marketing website because I want the discoverability. But if you call something like this a title management system, what you're actually describing there is one piece of data. It's like the name on the front of the book, isn't it? It's like the word Spanish. That's the title of that work. Oh, that's pretty. So it's a better word to use. Work is a better word to use than title. Otherwise you end up with all sorts of weirdness, like a title's title, which just, I mean, that's your clue, isn't it? That it's the wrong word to use. Anyway, so blah, blah, blah. Let's go back to our list of things, and now let's look at in-house formats. And we're calling this formats because this is really to do with the dimensions of the physical or digital thing that we're talking about. I can hear a cat shifting around behind me. So we can add a new format if we want. These, as I say, are the ones that this ships with. And as you can tell, the reason that we have this in the system at all is so that we have a degree of templating going on. Because if you are publishing 15 B format paperbacks a month, it is galling and irritating to type in 129 by 198 millimeters 15 times. So this is not only galling and irritating, but also prone to error. And when we onboard people, God, the variety that you can get around, around anything really, but the formats is a really funny one. 128 by 198, 128 by 197, 100 blah, blah, blah. There's no limit to it. So consistency brings a quiet life and brings patterns. You can see that you could perhaps save money on standardising on to the correct millimetre on specs to your printer. So we've got all of these in the system at the moment, and you can see that they are containing information such as their dimensions. Let's have a look at that B format paperback and click into there and see what we've got. So we've got identity information, we've got a little code there as well. We could add some more metadata around this. Then we're starting to map this information to the Onyx standard. So this is the real trick of it, isn't it? We want to reflect our reality. We want to use the words that we use. I want it to say B format paperback. You might want it to say something completely different. But in this box, this is the Onyx list. So we're going to choose the thing closest to this sort of refined, nuanced version that we talk about. The closest thing to a B format paperback in Onyx is BC, paperback softback. So fantastic, we've chosen that. We could also further specify how our in-house format maps to the Onyx code lists. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's not worth doing. There might be some edition related information that we definitely want to capture or not. These are all worth having a look at. Clicking on the help icons as well to see if there's anything relevant there. Let's look at the format details now. So we've got all of these different things we can add, and if any of these are relevant, and if any of these are kind of you find yourself needing to add them again and again, consider setting up a new format like we're doing here, a new in-house format, because this is an Onyx this is an Onyx code list. And so, that's familiar. We've got A format paperback there. Scrolling down a bit, we've got B format paperback, which we've selected. There's all of these other ones. A4, good. So, if this is relevant, then make sure that you tag this up. Because this is all, this is all discoverability, isn't it? This is all, gosh, we're using a word that exists on somebody else's system in exactly this format, which means that now this sort of graph of data, how everything joins to everything else, you're now part of it. And so searches will lead to your work. We can say what the font is. That's not a drop down because it could be very variable. Colour cover. This is an Onyx list. Colour cover. Nice bonkers, isn't it? I'm not sure that teal is the same as turquoise green, but this is the thing. This is the standard, the list of compromises that are meant to work across the world, and then you can say how your nuanced version of things maps to it. So these are all really useful. Some really great hazard warnings. If this is a paperback, there are no known hazards or warnings to a paperback. Nothing on this list is relevant. They are not choking hazards. They're not strangulation hazards. If they don't have magnets, they're not a magnet hazard. So you can say there's no magnet hazard warning necessary, and you'll need to consult with the players in your supply chain to see what affirmations, what messaging they need to understand what sort of product it is that you're sending to be ingested into their systems. If there's no toy, if this is a B format paperback, it's not a toy, it doesn't need a material safety data sheet, and so on and so forth. So tag these things up once, apply this format. Cool. The system will save you from silly data entry conflicts. I've said that there's no known hazards at all, and then I've repeated myself by saying that, and also there's no magnet. So we can just say no known hazards, and that's great. And then down at the bottom here, we have the measurements. So again, standardizing on what the phrase B format paperback means to us in terms of what the width is and what the height is. I think that you would very rarely put in the product thickness and the unit weight at this point, because those things do tend to vary, don't they, by product. Although, I mean, there's some things, like these are, I've got here, hang on, don't make the whole bookshelf fall down. Let's make my screen go big for a moment. So I've just grabbed off the shelf that there are, transition, there we go. So here are 2 paperbacks. So these are paperbacks it's an Open University paperback for a course. I think the page count is identical. I suspect that the width and the height is identical, of course, and that's fine. For a type of book like this, it could be that you're trying to standardise on page count, so the thickness might be right. So there are always cases, aren't there, where you might want to set up a new product in-house format to accommodate series or sets or collections or that sort of thing. So again, use the system in a way that reflects your reality. And oh yeah, you know the difference, don't you, between the product and the page trim. Need a hardback now. We don't have any hardbacks in this house. Have to be a notebook. So the page, I'm messing around today. Transition. So the page trim goes to there, doesn't it? The page it's so hard to do, and now I'm dazzling you with white. Let's try and get it there. Okay, the page trim. There's the pages. Oh my god, this is... You know how books work? There's pages there. And then there's an extra 4mm or so there all around where the case is. And the case sticks out a bit. And you can see at the top there, there's like a margin. So the product is the whole thing. Case, top of the case to the bottom of the case. The page trim, just the paper stock in the middle. So that's the difference between those 2 dimensions that you might want to capture there. Great, and then if you prefer inches, then inches is available there. So that is going to save you from the burden of data entry, repetitive data entry, across time and across different records. Possibly more importantly, it's going to save you from inaccuracy. I mean, that's the party line, isn't it? We want accuracy, but my goodness, we also want a happy working life, and we don't want to have to type the same thing in all the time, all day long. Multiple benefits to doing this. So we've added a new edition, we've added a new format. The next bit down is ISBN 13s. Now, this is not probably relevant for buying, for buying a new imprint. But it's worth just showing you that this page exists, because every blue moon you run out of ISBN 13s, and there's a big flurry that week because you get in touch with Nielsen in the UK, Bagger in the US, and other agencies around the world, and you say, we need another set of ISBN 13s, and they send you a form to fill out, and they send it you back in an email. When you get that email with the spreadsheet attached, copy all of the ISBN 13s, and you might have ordered 10 if you're feeling particularly brassic that week, or you might have ordered 100 or 1,000 or a 10,000 ISBN 13 block. Doesn't matter, paste it in there, and then select the imprint, because ISBNs can be allocated at an imprint level. I mean, they should be allocated at an imprint level. And so if you set it up here, you are then able to automatically allocate a new ISBN 13 that's in the right imprint block to your works on the metadata page. I don't have a spare set of 10,000 valid ISBN 13s, so you're going to have to use your incredible minds to imagine me pasting some stuff in there, choosing Equine Press, and then there being a bazillion ISBNs unused, ready to be allocated. I might see if I can, might try that for another day. So that's useful. But like I say, we're in the market of, well, we've bought this imprint. They've already published lots and lots of works and products. How are we going to get them into the system? And so for the rest of the live stream today, what I'm going to do is we've covered a bit of the settings page, but what I'm going to do next is import some of the data that we've just acquired from in that imprint into consonants. Now, I prevaricated over this because we're going to use this kind of self-serve Excel spreadsheet importer. And it's much less cool than the way that we actually do things at this stage. We actually normally get an Onyx file from the previous system. Sometimes we are driven to buy back an Onyx file from one of the supply chain partners where the new publisher's information has been uploaded or typed in over years. But when we get metadata in the Onyx format, it is fantastically structured. There's a lot of it, and we can press a button and 10,000 richly structured products within their works and all of the contributor information that goes with it gets ingested. We don't have that as a big button in the interface because it's one of those with great power comes great responsibility things. But moreover, between you and me, it's because most of the time when we get an Onyx message from somebody else in the supply chain, it's not particularly well structured sometimes. And sometimes there are errors, and sometimes there are logical problems, and sometimes the data is just wrong. And sometimes there are conflicts and so on and so forth. So we do tend to do that ourselves, and then present it to our new clients saying, I think this is what it was meant to look like. We can also do fancy things like if at that point you want to run any audit tracking, if you want to get a sense of how does your data look against various metrics, then that's a useful time to do that sort of interrogation. So yes, it's very much a case-by-case basis, us working with our new client to get their data in the most efficient way, but we do quite a lot of transforming, is what I'm saying, on that import, because it's a great time to do it. And if you import 20,000 products into your account, and then you think, gosh, wish the imprint was spelt right throughout, then I don't know, it's easier to do it the other way around, isn't it? But self-serving is very important for one's, sense of agency and being able to get through the day. So as well as that highly powerful Onyx importer, and as well as a lot of the GraphQL API importers that we have, which if you're a programmer, you'll know all about, and you can ask us if you don't have an API key. As well as those sort of more programmatic ends of things, we have a spreadsheet importer. And that's what we're going to use today. I just want to make sure that you know that it's almost deliberately cut down. We'll see, but just don't think that this is it. That's what I'm saying. So the place that we're going to get our data from is over on Excel, trusty Excel. And I opened up Excel for the first time in goodness knows how long, and it's, I don't know, this is Excel for Mac, isn't it? So it's all very rounded corners and slightly too small fonts and that sort of thing. But at an Excel template, it is that this is all fine. And the way that you get to it from within the system, focus on self-serve here. So you're not having to raise a ticket to us to say, can I have the latest file importer? You just want to do a bit of stuff on your own, not have to explain to people what's going on. So you come to this page, which is imports, data exchange imports. And you click on the button New Import, and then it gives you a list of the sorts of data that can be imported using a spreadsheet. We are today going to look at importing contacts and importing products. So if I click on importing products, here's your little kind of checklist of things to do. Download the product template spreadsheet, it says, and there's a link to that file that I just opened in roundy cornery Excel. And then it says add your data to the spreadsheet. Simply add your data to the spreadsheet. And then there's a link and it says learn how to complete the products template. That takes you to a great big long set of instructions, should you need it, on exactly what to do, and any hopefully disambiguations. You know, if there's a column and it's called imprint, and you think, what does that even mean? Is that a code? Do I need to have a name or whatever? This will tell you in detail what it is. So this is the general information. You know, it says go and get the spreadsheet, fill it in and upload it. There is a page for each kind of focused area. So click on the learn how to correctly add data to the products spreadsheet template. And then here we've got some pictures that show you what's going on. You know, the real detail of stuff, like longer than 255 characters, the subtitle is not going to work. You can't have a negative edition number, and so on and so forth. So if you're filling in the spreadsheet and you're a bit boggled by what you're meant to put first, by all means drop us a line. But if you're in a solitary hermit like, no, I just want to do this myself, then this is the page for you. So enjoy reading all of that. Lovely. So let's have a look at that spreadsheet. Now, this is how can I make this? I mean, spreadsheets are spreadsheets, aren't they? It's going to be a bit trying. But let's just have a look at some of the headings that you can fill in. I am going to import just a very small amount of data, just so that we can keep kind of track of what we're doing. I'm going to import. This is what I was trying to avoid. We're going to import 3 works, 3 products. 2 of them belong to the same work. So even within this tiny amount of data, there's quite a lot of complexity. But I thought, you know, why not be a bit complex from time to time and step through it together? So the first row here, let's make this as big as we dare. The first row has a title of horsing around, and it has a subtitle of a mane tail. And I've stared at this for so long thinking, horses have manes, right? Horses have tails, because now I am unconfident about my ability to name the parts and sounds of the horse. But I think we're all right. Horses have manes, spelt like that. They have tails. Then we have an ISBN 13, which must be valid, or Constance will let you know that it's not. And then in the next column, we have this thing, and it says same work identifier type. You're like, what is even that? Same work identifier type. If we go to our documentation, does it say here same work identifier type? I mean, it's going to say exactly the same things that we're talking about now, isn't it? The thing that we can select from the little drop down on Excel is this idea of it's within the import, and then the next column is kind of associated with it. So if the same work identifier type is within import, which means within this import spreadsheet, then what is that identifier? And you can see here that we've got the 2 identical ISBN 13s. So here they are. Same work identifier is that one and that one. And you can put absolutely anything in here so long as it matches. So it doesn't have to be a fancy, correct ISBN. What Constance is going to do is look for all of the rows in this spreadsheet that have got this identical work identifier. And that's your way of saying these 2 products belong to the same work. Do you see what I mean? Sometimes for ease of just figuring out which one's which, we can say, okay, the neighbour this product has an ISBN 13 ending in 673. Let's use that to say that all of the products that have that set of numbers, they belong to the same work. So that's what's going on there. Does that make sense? Please write in if it doesn't make sense, because you can get quite a long way with this little spreadsheet. And one of the difficulties, I suppose, is making sure that your external systems, your previous systems to consonants, may not have tried to help you map to reality. But the reality is that you've got two products on the same work. You want them to look like the same work on consonants. You don't want to have two works, both with all of the duplicated data, both called the neighbour, and so on and so forth. So that's how you do that. Then we've got a pub date, then we've got a publishing status, then we've got a product form. Hi, Jam. And I've popped in the imprint code there. Now, I say I popped it in. I've got a version of this spreadsheet where the columns only go up to H, but over time we've added a few more columns since this particular example. And if I can navigate this accurately, product template, yeah. So we've, this is the one I've just downloaded from the system. We've got title, subtitle, edition number, series codes, ISBN. There's our same work identifier type with its little drop down. And will it go big if I zoom in? Zoom, zoom, zoom. Big enough to see? No. We've chosen within import, which means that any strings that match within that spreadsheet, that's how we're telling it that it's the same work, the same parent work. You can also use work ID and ISBN, and then the following column would have to contain that sort of information. So it could be an existing work ID within the system. So if you suddenly go into audiobooks, you don't have to upload every single product from works that already exist. You can add to that work, and you can join them up by citing the work ID there. So that's quite malleable as well. More columns though. Pub date, publishing status, product form. Jam. Oh dear. Oh my goodness. Jam's just woken up. She's a hot mess. Then we've got in-house format code, in-house edition code, which we were looking at earlier. Imprint code, very nice. Then we've got thema, BIC and BSAC codes, keywords, audience codes, some in-house things again, work type, season, project stage and marketing tier, number of pages and some other illustration stuff, and the language of text code. So, it's not nothing. It's not a patch on Onyx though, is it? If you know your Onyx, then there's a bazillion more options and fields that can be added. But if a spreadsheet is what you've got, and this is what we're talking about today, then that's fine. So you can fill in all of that, and follow this process. But I'm just keeping it to these columns at the moment. In that documentation, it will say, don't be adding in new columns with your own data, because we don't want you to think that we've uploaded it. You need to get the column headings right, because that's what our code looks for. Our code is looking for the column heading called ISBN, and that's how we know it's going to be the ISBN column. So there'll be all sorts of validations that will occur. So let's go and upload it, see what that looks like. So we're here on web.consonants.app, so the real system, but I am signed in as Feline Press, so that's okay. And then we're going to browse, and we'll go to recents, and we will get that, I think that's the one, products, many valid imports. And then we are going to click upload and validate. One of the reasons I wanted to go through this today is to show you that you're not going to break anything if you click on this button. This is going to validate your import. You're not committing to anything at this point. I want you to feel a little bit rugged when you're moving around the system. I want you to feel like you're not going to break anything. And so this is a good example of that. I've clicked the button, the upload has been successful, it's queued for processing. I haven't done anything kind of destructive, or even, I haven't sort of now uploaded lots of products into the wrong place. I am going to get a review chance. So let's see how this goes, and it's queued for processing. And now I should have made sure that I'd started the background worker. Oh dear. So we'll see how long that takes to start the background worker. You can see some of the other jobs that I've done quite a long time ago. Actually, I haven't come to this. We've uploaded prices in the past. We can upload sales, and if I can move that out of the way, and you can see that here's a good example of, I uploaded prices, and it worked okay, but errors needed correcting. So if there are any data errors, then we're going to see here that errors prevent approval. And if we click on there, we can click through and see, oh right, yeah, what we've tried to do there is add in a price, but it goes to more decimal places than kind of how currencies work. You can't have a GBP currency with this many decimal places. It's not real money. So again, we're trying to make sure that reality is being achieved here. So this is not a valid spreadsheet. This doesn't contain valid data, and we're not going to let you put that invalid data into the system as a kindness. So I've just hit the back button, and now we can see that our import here, products many valid imports, it's ready for approval, and we get a little bit of information. 3 products processed, no errors found. 2 works with 3 products can be approved. So that's our little, sense that, yeah, that worked really well. We said that 2 of those products belong to the same work. Our little check here has established that. And if I want to check even further, I can look at view import, and I can see, yeah, the data row. So it's the row in the spreadsheet. There, the data row has got horsing around in there. It says that the pub status is unspecified, and sure enough, the pub status was unspecified. Reality achieved. But we've got a little message here, and it says publishing status will be set to active based on the pub date, because the pub date is in the past, and so we're going to assume there that the publishing status will be set to active. So we're giving you a chance at this point to say, don't assume, actually it's not active, in which case don't proceed with importing, with confirming this import. Go back to your spreadsheet and put in the publishing status that you prefer. So we try really hard to make sure that Constance doesn't do weird things without your permission. So that's a good example of that. Same here, like product form. We're saying that we're going to set it to undefined. It may be that you want it to be something different, but we're also giving you a heads up that this is what the system is going to do. It is not going to start fiddling with your data without your consent. Another thing that we've got here is the imprint code. So if I was to go to the documentation, look for imprint, spell it right, imprint, you can see that this is the little description about the imprint code. It is optional. 2 of our products here do not have an imprint code. Must be a valid consonants imprint code, and then you can click on this link to go to your account and see what your imprint codes are, and if there isn't one there, then you can add it and re-upload. The other thing that I wanted to point out here was our data has mapped for the work. So on rows 3 and 4, it's the same as data row 4, that's the same as data row 3, just as a bit of information. Again, if your reality is that you're uploading 2 products with the same title, or 2 works with the same title, that is fine. That might be how it is. We're just going to gently say, if that's okay, that's great, just pointing it out. And here is another thing that we're doing, but seeking consent to do it. We're saying that this title contains the word the. In bibliographic data management world, the should be the title prefix and neighbour should be the title, because then you get to alphabetize in lists appropriately and not everything is in the T section. So definitely have a look at this draft. If there are any errors, then they'll be printed out here. An error will stop you from being able to go ahead and approve this import. And then for your convenience, here are the autocorrects, which must be, had a look at, make sure that and expected this to happen. There's one I missed actually that I didn't show you. The word ebook was used, and it's a keyword that we're going to convert to the Onyx code. So that's all very nice. So for a 3-row import, a spreadsheet import, there's a lot going on. But I just wanted to show you this to show that you get a chance to make sure that what you put in the spreadsheet is what Constance thinks is you get a chance to check that Constance knows what you're talking about. So I think this is all good. So we're going to approve that import, and then we're going to enjoy seeing that data come into the system. Whilst we're looking at that, I think we've got enough time to also look at a contact import. Same sort of thing. When we import data from an Onyx file, we do get quite a lot of contact information for contributors. We don't get contact information for people or organisations that can never exist in an Onyx file because they are not contributors to a product, and an Onyx file is full of product information. So it's quite likely that you might come across this spreadsheet from time to time, because this is how you would get your list of printers and freelance typesetters and data aggregators and literary agents and other important contacts, people and organisations who you would like to have the content stored in your one version of the truth, but may not make it in via the bibliographic route, because that's not how they're associated with anything. So it's the same sort of thing, a whole big load of columns. If I can make my fingers work, we've got the title, we've got the name of the person or organisation really exploded out into the different attributes that the Onyx standard likes to see. So we've got titles before key names before key names, suffix, qualification, single name, organisation name, an acronym. I think that's everything. So that's a nice opportunity at this point, because contact names are so prone to never being consistent, are they? We looked a few weeks ago, didn't we, at AA Milne, A.A.Milne, Milne, comma A, Milne, comma A dot A. There's many different ways to say the same entity. So this is a chance to get it absolutely right. And the same sort of thing. We've got some additions here. We've got some identifiers. We've got some made up information, of course. We've got addresses that are broken down, because a lot of our clients are academic clients and they don't have a kind of a regular street address. They have their department, they have an organisation name, and then their department name and the sub-building and the building and the care of and the PO box and various lines. So that is, nice to break out as well. And the very last couple of options on this spreadsheet, contributor role. Now you'll have to go and look up your Onyx codes here. If you've been staring at the metadata page for the same number of years as me, then you'll know that A01 is by author and B01 is edited by. But the instructions will say go to the metadata page or the editor code lists and have a look at the correct role. Again, you know, if we use role numbers here, we're missing out the chance of you spelling by brackets author incorrectly. Codes do help with clarity. And then the final column is a really handy work ID. So if you're actually importing this contact and they are a contributor to a work, you can import them first and then manually through the interface add them. But you can also use the consonants work ID, and I'll show you where you can get that. It will be on, let's take Cats Throughout History. If I click on Cats Throughout History, in the, oh, I can't zoom in. Can I go bigger? No. In the address bar at the top here, you see, yes, no, yes, it's just there, yes. You can see web.consonants.app/works/ and then a number. That is the work ID. If I also click here on the metadata page, if I click on one of the little boxy things here, I get the consonants ID there, and that is the product ID. So the product ID for this BB format hardback is 240245. The work ID is 138198. That's how you can quickly eyeball it through the interface. You can absolutely get this from a big, data dump. CSV exports is a great one. That is a spreadsheet or CSV that contains all of those numbers. Or you can get it from a custom report that is either a product or a contact type of custom report. But that's what we're talking about there. The consonants ID is like within our database. That's the integer that tells the database what record we're talking about. Where was I? I need to go back to imports. So yes, so we can, we've got products, many valid imports. 3 products have been saved to the database. We can look at the imported items if we want to. Let's just get the contact one going, because we're running out of time a little bit. So what did I do there? I went to imports, main menu, data exchange imports, lovely. Then I clicked new import contacts, smashing. And then I faithfully read the instructions like a good computer operator, but blasted straight past it and go to the browse, recents, I think, contacts, upload that. And again, same thing, upload and validate. So don't think that consonants is particularly breakable. You are not going to break consonants. If you were to plough through all of these, opportunities to not add, 5,000 works all titled "I am a fish," then we can still undo that. If you just don't sort of defer to a point of inaction. Trust that consonants is going to know when you're going to need a bit of assurance, and going to know when there's validations that are needed and some checking. And also know that you've been bravely using spreadsheets for years and years, and there's no tests, there's no validations on that. Absolute carnage can be wrought by using spreadsheets. So consonants is very risk-free as an alternative. So let's go and have a look at products and see what's been imported. In fact, let's go to Data Studio and do a new search. And I can't remember any of the things that we put in our in our thing, but let's do title contains horse. And I think we will get a list of the products. That's lovely. And there's our product that has been imported, horsing around, with the pub date and the ISBN and the status. And as we said, not that much information, is there? But now clicking through, here is our metadata page all ready to get set up. But what we didn't do on this one was apply the imprint. So the imprint will be automatically on the other ones we imported. But let us go to the imprint bit here and add in the imprint. And this is where we will find our newly created Equine Press. Don't need to fill in all of the other stuff because that's come from a template. And then if I type in imprint again, imprint, then we see all of the information has been added in. So so that is a few records that have been added from a spreadsheet. Let's just nip back to Data Studio and do a search for imprint contains. Imprint name contains equine. Lovely. And this is quite a nice example, isn't it, of what we're seeing here. We've done a search for imprint name contains equine or equa, but the display outcome that we're looking at here, this is a list of products. I know that sounds kind of obvious for this one, but I just want you to remember that the filters on a search are decoupled from the display outcome, because we're searching for imprints. You'd be forgiven if you thought, well, on other systems, now I'm going to get a list of imprints where the name contains equa. But I can weave my way through the database. I can get a list of all of the prices. Oh, I didn't put any prices in. I can get a list of all of the contributors, work contributors to these. Oh, no, I haven't put any of those in yet. Oh, what can I do? I can get a list of the works. There you go. So I've got my works that are part of the imprint where the name contains equa. You see, this is just teeing us up for the next thing, isn't it? Because now we need to think, well, we've got lots more information we can put in so that we can run an interesting Data Studio search. And that's what we'll do next time. Finally, just nip back to imports, see that we imported those people or not. Yeah, 7 contacts processed and no errors. Let's just have a quick check a look. No errors. What autocorrects happened? Very nice. Converted to the ISO country code. We put in some HTML in our spreadsheet, and it's slightly chippy. Constance has converted it to valid HTML. And we've checked that the ISNI number is correct, and we've checked that the ORCID ID is formatted properly. So, all again, things that are going to improve the data. We want to make sure that you've seen it before we just do it without telling you. So I can approve that import, and that's going to trundle through, and then we've got our contacts in. So let me know if there are other ways of getting data into the system that you'd like me to run through. But I hope that has gone some way towards sort of showing that there are some powerful parts of consonants, but just because they're powerful doesn't mean they're going to be dangerous or that you shouldn't, make the most of them. So that might help, who knows, seeing me walk through that. But if you ever want to just have a dry run on something, we have test systems, demo systems and things. So just, drop us a line to say, is this right? Am I doing this right? Very, very, very happy to point you in the right direction accordingly. Right, so that's a bit more on Equine Press. Thankfully, we've run out of time, because otherwise I would badger you to go to the IASME website and look at Cyber Essentials and Cyber Assurance, which is a data security and privacy and governance certification scheme, which is focused on the UK, but really useful for anyone. I sound like an advert now. I'm not. I just really like, having gone through the process ourselves, I really like having a checklist that tells me what I should think about, what policies we should have in place, what processes and registers, what thoughts I should think, so that I know that we're doing everything right. And it's not programming specific, it's running a company specific in this era where the threats seem to be surrounding us more and more by the day. So I really would recommend that. Cyber Essentials. Great. Right, yes. See you next week when the sun's come out. So have a lovely weekend. Take it easy.